If you would have told me the final score of Washington State-Wisconsin would have been 17-14 and Cam Ward would have thrown 2 interceptions, I'd said, yeah, Wisconsin eked out a victory in their style of play. But that's not what happened. Let's react to the Badgers and the Cougars. Before we get into the Wisconsin-Washington State reaction, new viewers, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Ring the bell to stay notified for any time I upload a video. This is all Big Ten. If you love the B1G, this right here is the place to be. Washington State was better, I think, in some areas where I didn't think they were overly strong. I think one area for Washington State that I think did pretty well was the front seven, the defensive line. I think did a pretty good job. Braylon Allen only rushed for 98 yards in this football game. That was a big key for Wisconsin. Could Braylon Allen get going? Could this rushing game get going for Wisconsin? But yet again, kind of like last year, the turnover bug kind of bit him a little bit. But it wasn't necessarily Graham Mertz this time. You look at his stat line and Graham Mertz had an okay game. This wasn't a game where Graham Mertz maybe threw it away. And yeah, maybe there were some parts of this game where of course he could have played better. But you look at the stat lines, he was maybe the better quarterback in this game, at least in terms of protecting the football. He was. But the rest of the team, not so much. Both Washington State and Wisconsin, 3 turnovers in this game. So this is Big Ten, Ted. This is not Pac-12, Ted. So I'm going to focus on Wisconsin here. And should there be a level of concern, Badger Twitter was not taking this loss very kindly. I had a feeling that this was not going to be a blowout. I had a feeling that Washington State was going to play good football. I feel like Washington State is a 7-5-ish, maybe an 8-4 type of team in the Pac-12. And that type of team with that record is very different than one in the Big Ten. I believe Wisconsin can still be a good football team, but man, this offensive line is not what it used to be. I know they've transitioned Bob Bostad back to the offensive line coach, and he was that O-line coach back when they were doing really good things there in the mid to late 2000s. But man, this is an offensive line that, I mean, you saw Washington State was able to get in there. They were able to disrupt Graham Mertz in parts of this game. The running game was fine. It wasn't an overly impressive type of game in terms of running the football that I expected from the Wisconsin Badgers. This is not panic mode right now in Madison. Nobody's panicking. It's a non-conference game. You're still undefeated, in the Big Ten, so to speak. So there's a lot of stuff on the table. But offensive line, I feel you can fix some issues as the season goes on. Offensive line, I say the same thing for Iowa. Offensive line is something that it takes some time. It takes some cohesion. Can Wisconsin find that as the season goes on? And will that maybe lack of cohesion hurt their running game as the season goes along? I was not overly impressed for Wisconsin, I'll say that, coming into the season. In my prediction, I had them at 8-4, and I think that was a generous 8-4. And remember, this is a good defense, not the great defense that we saw last season. I think this is a solid to a good Wisconsin team, but I think this is a wake-up call. Okay, this can go one of two ways. You can spike, same with the Iowa loss. You can kind of spiral down, or you can use it, as a wake-up call. We lost to a mid-tier Pac-12 team at Camp Randall, probably one of the better, or at least it should be, one of the better home field advantages in the Big Ten Conference. So this should be a wake-up call to Wisconsin. And the problems that you saw today, I'm not sure they're going away. The lack of playmakers on the outside, the offensive line, the defense maybe not being quite as good as they were a year ago, even though they forced 3 turnovers today. This was a good defensive performance. I'll say this. Was giving up 17 points, forcing 3 turnovers. Good defensive performance, but how long can this defense carry that as the season goes along, as we get deeper into the Big Ten schedule? I think that's the big question I have for Wisconsin following this game. When I'm other teams in the Big Ten and I look at this effort, I see Wisconsin as, well, yeah, we can beat them. I see other teams in the Big Ten West that say they can beat the University of Wisconsin. Badgers need to get better up front. They need to get better on the offensive line if they want to be better. Someone's got to step up and be a playmaker on the outside to try their best to help Graham Mertz out. He was solid, but once again, this is a team that is built from the inside out. This is a Wisconsin team that wants to run the football first. And when your top guy, supposedly one of the best running backs in the Big Ten and in all of college football, gets only 98 yards against a mid-tier Pac-12 team, that's a wake-up call. I think that's the theme where I'm looking at for Wisconsin, because this is a team that can be really good. I firmly believe this is a good defense. It's going to gel over time. This is a Wisconsin team. Maybe some pass catchers are going to emerge as some main guys. And this running game can be that they have the talent in the backfield to be one of the best rushing attacks in the Big Ten Conference. Wake up call, Wisconsin. What do you guys think of this result? Wisconsin and Washington State. Could Washington State be a Pac-12 sleeper or dark horse, or is this cause for real concern in Madison, Wisconsin? Leave your thoughts in the comments below and make sure you subscribe to Big Ten Ted. I am Big Ten Ted, and we will see you in the next one.